Many people have studied for a long time, read many books on the 8 characteristics, and are very familiar with all the theories. However, when they get a Batsi character, they can't get started, they can't grasp the key points, and their mind is full of questions. Is this a noble life or an ordinary life? Is this a rich or a government official? First, look at the balance of yin and yang of the fate of whether or not the balance. Here to be divided into 2 aspects of the balance. One is the balance of the yin and yang attributes of the fate of the balance. The second is the balance of the power of the Lord of the day and the wealth of the official. Of course, this is not a criterion for determining a person's wealth. It means that the 5 elements in the fortune should be balanced, and if this principle is achieved, then although we can't determine whether the 8 characters are rich or not, we can be sure that the owner's life will be safe and free from any major disasters. A person with a balanced life balance will not have any major disasters in his life, because no matter what comes in the Daxing and Lunar New Years, the original life balance will have a way to resolve it. For example, if the 7 killings come, I have the yin to neutralize it. If the lords come, I have the wealth. If the goat's edge comes, I have the 7 killings to control it. And if the robbery comes, I have the food god to neutralize it. The next step is to look at my relationship with my wealth and officials, and to see through what channels I get my wealth and officials. If you have any understanding of the final destiny theory, you will know that he has a gain and loss concept theory. If you know anything about the final numerology, you will know that he has a theory of gain and loss. What I have gained and what I have lost, this is to put the 8 characters of the fortune into the real world. Day and time represent me and my family. Year and month represent all things in the society. By analyzing the relationship between year and month and day and time, and the role of me and my wealth and officials, so as to arrive at the peace and prosperity of life, rich and poor. Finding out the use and jealousy of the gods. 1. What is the use of God? Use of God is to play a good key role in the fate of the word. This word has a one man against all people momentum. This character can be found in the original fortune, or not found in the original fortune, but it is best if it is found in the original fortune of the 8 characters, so that the 8 characters will have a little bit of nobility. This character usually plays the roles of regulating, supporting, suppressing, and passing. This character is indispensable in the fortune. If this character is harmed by punishment and attack, then the level of the fortune will be greatly reduced. 2. What is a jealous god? The character that plays a destructive role in the fate is called Jishin. This character, through various ways to persecute the Sun Master, Mission Bureau cannot realize the balance, impede me, including the Sun Master, my palace, Emin Food Injury Lu, to play a role in intercepting my access to wealth and official routes. Once you have found the useful and jealous gods, you will probably know the level of the 8 characters. If there are useful gods in the fortune, and the useful gods are powerful and are not destroyed, then you can conclude that the person's life is free from danger and is safe and rich. If the jealousy god in the fortune is reckless, and there is no restraint or neutralization to pose a serious threat to me, then it is concluded that this person's life is full of misfortune, and his body will be thrown into the waves. 3. Look at the prosperity and decline. It is important to note that it does not necessarily mean that a person with a strong body has a good life, while a person with a weak body has a bad life. Moon Tak Fugue also said, body strong wealth and official wong, rich and noble pressure on the townsfolk, body weak wealth and official absolute, retired from the family rest. We must look at this sentence dialectically. If a fortune body is very strong, Kaiguan is also very strong. The premise is that I cannot get Kaiguan. If I can get Kaiguan as rich and noble pressure on the townspeople of the good life. Look at the back of the sentence. The body is weak, Kaiguan Jia. Pay attention to the key point in the absolute this on. Only Kaiguan dead. It is possible to retreat home rest. If Kaiguan is not the case and I have access to Kaiguan's way, then it is another matter. Then, how to determine the prosperity and decline. First of all, look at the moon. The moon is the season, is the earth in the process of movement, with the passage of time produced by the different seasons of the gas. The 5 elements of the gas can dominate everything on earth. People living in the earth and sky should be subjected to the movement of the earth and sky produced by the aura constraints. So the power of the lunar month accounted for 40% of the fate, is the balance of the fate of the key point. And then look at the time branch. The time branch is the fate of the destination, accounting for 40% of the power. The rest of the year branch accounted for 10%. The day branch accounted for 10%. The outline of the future world's religious innovation, harmonious coexistence of human beings through Tao communication. First of all, I would like to clarify that there is a common disadvantage of conceptualization in human beings setting up a concept artificially, conceptualizing concepts and confining ourselves to concepts, thus missing out on a complete understanding of the truth of things and the natural way of life, and failing to effectively solve practical problems. Therefore, the treatment of concepts should follow the principle of based on the original, focusing on the connotation, keeping pace with the times, dynamic changes, problem-solving, and seeking truth from facts. This is the case with the concepts of religion and Taoism in this paper, and with Taoism as the basis of the idea of the Taoist way of thinking, the Taoist way of communicating with each other, the outline of a preliminary analysis of the future world religious innovation, the harmonious coexistence of mankind, reflecting the Taoist way, and the Taoist way. The concept of Taoism and religion is based on the concept of Taoism, which embodies the connotative characteristics of Tao itself, which has no boundaries, has no smallness, and is all-pervasive, as well as the religious concept of inheritance of traditions, advancement of the times, and survival as the basis for renewal, as summarized below. The following is a brief description. Science and democracy are the products of historical progress, and harmony and freedom are the eternal pursuit of mankind. However, today in history, human survival is facing important problems: humanistic infringement of nature, materialistic desire, corrosion of the soul, pluralism and respective politics, beliefs in the wrong direction. Makes science detached from the humanities, democracy in name only, harmony cannot be laid, and freedom of alienation is rampant. Human survival. All the problems are summarized on the surface of the anger and resentment of the people, but the essence of the spiritual catastrophe. Religion is based on the search for the truth of the universe, life, and society. Only by playing the role of religion in guiding, resolving, and soothing the mind can we educate the mind, inspire wisdom, encourage freedom, restrain indulgence, eliminate ignorance and save arrogance, and harmonize with politics, law, and other social functions to promote the construction of a humanistic society. It is the ultimate way out for human society to harmonize with politics, law, and many other social functions, and to promote the construction of a common rule of man and God. However, both the connotation and form of religion need to be inherited and innovated to keep pace with the times, so as to reflect the unity of humanism and science, spirituality and materialism, faith and cultivation, wisdom and morality, and the governance of the country and the pacification of the world, and to dialectically deal with the indoctrination of religions and their relationship with society, the state, and the nation. We dialectically deal with religious indoctrination and church and their corresponding relationships with society, the state, and the nation, and seek and commit ourselves to realizing the freedom of mind and body for the survival of humanity. Unlike the historical unity of church and state, in which religion overrode politics in the narrow sense, the common rule of man and God is based on the unity of faith, cultivation, and order management based on the holistic view of nature, which is both a principle, a method, and a goal to establish a balance between spiritual purity and secular needs, and to realize the spiritual and spiritual freedom of mankind. It is both a principle, a method, and a goal to establish a balance between the pure beauty of spirituality and the needs of the world, and to realize harmony between man himself, man and society, and man and nature. In other words, the common wisdom of man, God, and nature is based on solving the shortcomings of human nature and realizing the perfect management of a series of social goals such as faith, cultivation, morality, conscience, law, order, democracy, checks and balances, and so on. For whether it is an individual person or a social group, the only way to realize the common governance of man and God is to check and balance the three ways, laws, principles, and methods of heaven, earth, and man. The way of heaven represents the cultivation of the mind, spirituality, which is in line with the natural path. The way of earth represents the historical traditions of different regions, ethnic groups, and countries, and the way of man represents the secular needs of the current society. Following the unity of the three paths makes it possible for human beings to establish a balance between satisfying worldly needs and saving souls. 5. In the face of the common shortcomings of human nature, such as conceptualization, bias, excessive desire, depletion of vital energy, and inconsistency between words and deeds, human beings follow the unity of the three paths, i.e., making choices and balancing between truth and heresy, and between righteousness and wickedness, cultivating the root and consolidating the vital energy, supporting righteousness and dispelling wickedness, benefiting the human race, and reducing disasters. This will benefit the human race, minimize disasters, and reflect heaven's virtue of good life. The current problems of religion and humanity as a whole are deeply rooted and cannot be solved without unification through pluralism. How to realize unification in the era of 100 schools of thought? Only when the Tao of the universe penetrates through heaven and earth, through all things, and through diversified thoughts, breaking through the conceptual solidification and extracting the essence of its contents and implementing innovations can it be realized by combining today's achievements in the inheritance of human civilization. Respecting the pluralistic existence of individual beings, civilizations, and religions, while bringing them back to the same truth and realizing the unity of the nation, state, or community within a certain scope. Otherwise, each will stand on its own feet, and each will not be able to realize its own truth. Otherwise, each stands on its own position and serves its own interests, which can only lead to confusion in ideology and social order. 7. Innovation lies in application. Application lies in appropriateness. Appropriateness lies in being based on reality, understanding the great way, inheriting history, combining civilizations, pioneering, unconventional, relatively successful and effective in solving the current and future problems of mankind. 8. Taoism takes the Tao of the universe as the highest belief and basis for indoctrination. As the origin of all things, Taoism is not only a conceptual existence of ideology, but also an objective and independent existence that transcends ideology. Its former existence is far from being able to truly reflect the latter, which determines that the reality of human beings will always require constant adjustment, supplementation, and improvement. Perfected. Therefore, Taoism, as an objective and independent existence in real life, is much larger than conceptual existence and should not be bound and limited by concepts, but should be based on real experiences and current conditions and be adjusted, supplemented, and improved on the basis of historical traditions. 9. Taoism is the indoctrination of the descendants of the dragon, by the Chinese ancestors with the concept of Tao, including Taoism in the narrow sense with specific doctrines, rules, rituals, and the nature of the group, and Taoism in the broad sense with national and state ideology and the nature of the group. Taoism in the broad sense of the word is a unification of the national and state ideology of indoctrination of all people. Historical facts prove that Taoism originated from the ancient Chinese civilization and has formed the entire history of Chinese civilization since the opening of the heavens by Pangu to the 3 emperors and 5 emperors. As a Taoist tradition, it is the early ancestors of the Chinese nation who were interested in the Tao of the unity of heaven and man. It is the practice, understanding, and education of the early ancestors of the Chinese nation on the Tao of the unity of heaven and man that formed and sustained the great Chinese civilization. If Taoism in its narrow and broad sense were to be separated from its existence, the Chinese nation and its civilization would cease to exist. In this way, there is an essential difference between the complete and true concept of Taoism and the concept of atheism, and what sociologists usually call Taoism. The former believes that Taoism was founded and evolved by the early Chinese ancestors who communicated directly with humans and gods, while the latter narrowly believes that it was founded by Zhang Daoling and that it is the product of human ideology and the basis of the Chinese civilization. The former believes that Taoism was founded and evolved directly by the early Chinese ancestors who communicated directly with man and God, while the latter believes narrowly that it was founded by Zhang Daoling and that it is a product of human ideology, forming a fragmented understanding of Taoism. All religions of the world, all ethnic groups of mankind, and all things in the universe take Tao as the root of their existence and evolution. If they obey it, they will live. If they go against it, they will die. The essence of Tao is the mixed air, gas, with two relative attributes of yin and yang, balanced as a whole at the same time. It has the unity of matter, energy, and information, spirituality. All things, incarnation of the universe supreme, the world's religions, human communities, the universe of all things based on different understanding of the different titles, such as Pengu, Penga Laozu, Hongjun Laozu, Xiantian Laozu, Huangtian Laozu, Yuan Tianjin Jin Jin, Tianjin Xing Jin Jin, Wuji Laozu, Wuji Laomu, Wuji Laomu, Infinite Heavenly Father, Ancestor, Heavenly Father, Heavenly Emperor, God, Allah, and so on, etc., where the title of the creation of the heavens and the earth, the eternal supreme God of the universe, the Creator, is implied. It refers to its also wisdom and mercy, majesty, generosity, supreme power, and the power of the human being. The Creator is both wise and merciful, generous and powerful, with supreme magical power, which is admired by both humans and gods. Humans believe in it, communicate with its energy and wisdom, not only to pray for peace, but also to realize the ultimate value of the return of the soul, which is equivalent to the pursuit of and follow the natural way to promote the true knowledge and charity, obedience to the laws of nature, and to prevent the ignorance and violation of the laws of nature, which reflects the unity of faith and practice, science and humanity, and has the universal value of edification and rescue of human beings. It has a universal value of edification and salvation of mankind. 11. Taoism has a unique and systematic understanding of the true air of the mixed elements, believing that the true air of the mixed elements not only nurtures and creates the first life, Pengu, but also plays a leading role in opening up the heavens and opening up the earth, and is called the first heavenly elemental air, which is described in the Tao Te Ching as follows: 1. Heaven gets 1 to be clear, earth gets 1 to be peaceful, God gets 1 to be spiritual, and grain gets 1 to be full. The sages hold 1 for the world. After the creation of heaven and earth, the two airs, yin and yang, intermingle and form. After the creation of heaven and earth, yin and yang air merge to form the heavenly yuan air, which is described as 3 in Tao Te Ching and has the original energy and information for the birth of all living things, which is called the soul. The air of the soul belongs to the latter day in relation to the universe, but belongs to the first day in relation to the living body. At the same time, the physical body of a living being is nurtured by the yuan qi, fertilized egg, of the intersection of the yin and yang essence substances of the parents. The two yuan qi are both innate for the living being, and together they constitute the essence of energy and intelligence of the living being. Life forms have the essential existence and organic operation of energy and intelligence. However, most of the living beings have lost their tranquility and do not recognize the essence of life and cultivation, and they only know how to use the yuan qi, but do not know how to save it, not to mention that they do not know how to nourish it, which results in physical and mental fatigue, ignorance, and drowsiness, which is harmful to themselves and others, and they suffer a lot. The other part of the living body has a quiet mind, and when it is quiet, the balance of yin and yang is in line with the characteristics of the yuan qi, and the yuan qi can be saved and nourished so that the living body can obtain the energy and information necessary for its functioning, spirituality, and wisdom. In this way, the cultivation to enhance the energy and information of the soul is called cultivation, and to a certain extent, it is called Mingdao or Dao, and the adequacy of the air reflects the Dao. The adequacy of air reflects the level of Taoism. 12. Human wars and conflicts occur not only within the same religion and civilization, but also between different religions and civilizations, reflecting the limitations and sadness of human understanding and practice of the absolute and eternal great way, truth, and reflecting the fact that what human beings know and practice can only be relative truth, i.e., the world's religions, the various ethnic groups of human beings, and all things in the universe. That is, the religions of the world, the human races, and all things in the universe can never represent the absolute truth, and only the supreme being of the universe can represent it, but it is invisible and never comes to the world directly, and only spreads civilization by sending messengers to form the relative truth. In this way, the devout and modest faith and practice of Tao will definitely become a common task for all human beings, which makes human theism, atheism, and various religious beliefs and practitioners come together, sharing the same root and origin, connected by Taoist air, inducting the intangible, Tao, practicing the tangible, overcoming the ego, preserving the differences and seeking the commonality, and seeking the greatest harmony and survival together. We will seek the greatest welfare together for a harmonious existence. 13. Religion exists on the basis of the coexistence of man and God, according to the principle of mutual rooting of yin and yang, corresponding and coexisting. Man's inspiration comes from God, and what kind of man is what kind of God is. What kind of person there is, what kind of God there is. The opposite is also true. Man and God are manifested as the same life essence in the form of yin and yang. Due to the different forms of yin and yang, human beings and gods communicate with each other by soul sensing, or inspiration for short. Inspiration comes from the reflection of the individual's soul and is related to the individual's Taoism, the ability to truly reflect the Tao, and is only a reflection of the Tao. It is related to the individual's ability to truly reflect Tao and represents only the individual's realization. In this way, God is both an objective independent existence and a reflection of human ideology. Man is God, God is man. Man and God are both independent and united, and dialectically manifested in the form of God's dominion over man and man's embodiment of God. And it can be said that the civilization and wisdom of a person and a nation represent the mana and wisdom of the God of his person and nation in the world. God is not an eternal and unique concept, but is national, religious, and historical. The gods of different religious beliefs have direct civilizational origins or certain lineage origins with different peoples or groups of people. At the same time, it reflects that the complex course of human civilization represents the complex course of the divine realm. The divine realm corresponds roughly to the earthly realm. In other words, although human beings and gods have different ideologies and ways of being, they follow the same great way, truth. Only the great way is eternal, and human beings and gods are connected by the great way and follow it together. 14. In the world, it can be said in a certain sense that myths and legends or religious theology give birth to a nation, or that a nation that does not have myths and legends or religious theology has no inherited vitality. And we should be proud of the fact that the only Chinese myth and legend or Taoist theology that has a complete unity of ideology, logic, and systematization is that of Pangu, reflecting a high degree of understanding of the origin of the world, the universe, by the Chinese civilization, which has become the only civilization in the world that has never been disconnected. Therefore, whether the Chinese nation worships Pangu as the root ancestor of China or as the supreme emperor of heaven, it has the historical, factual basis of boundless power and wisdom, which makes the Chinese nation proud of itself, strong and strong. Chinese people's self-esteem, self-improvement, self-confidence, pride, self-responsibility, self-motivation, standing in the east of a world. With this in mind, Taoism's ideas of cultivating the root and consolidating the essence, supporting righteousness and dispelling evils, independence and autonomy, peaceful coexistence, taking oneself as the base, using the outside as the use, combining the use of the root and harmonious coexistence, are called moral civilization, not only based on Tao, but also on the idea that Tao is the most powerful and the most powerful. Not only does the understanding of the truth of Tao directly transform into the productive forces of science and technology, culture and art, but also the humanistic practice of virtue, directly determines the harmonious and progressive development of society, seeks to realize the physical and mental freedom of human existence, and establishes a model of human civilization. It seeks to realize the freedom of human existence, both physically and mentally, and to set an example of human civilization. Objectively speaking, it is difficult to prove how life on Earth, including human beings, was born and the exact period of their birth. In other words, there is no sufficient reason to conclude that human beings are the original and eternal beings of the Earth and the spirits of all living things. However, it can be concluded that human beings are the result of the survival of the fittest after the many beings in nature had dominated the Earth. The achievement of to be in harmony with the way is to be born. To be against the way is to perish, reflecting the fact that the heavenly emperor had created all things, and he chose different beings who followed his will to dominate the earth. In this way, it can be said that only after the birth of human beings did the personified heavenly emperor exist. If human beings go against the will of the heavenly emperor, other beings will inevitably replace human beings in dominating the earth with the principles and methods of the way, and human beings will either not be able to survive or will be left to be dominated and enslaved by other beings, both by the will of the heavenly emperor and by the choice of the way. According to the law of indestructible energy, if human beings cannot survive on earth, their souls must be transformed to other space and time. How to transform? Those with low energy and intelligence will be transformed into the earth and dominated by other beings, evil spirit animals. This is not a false statement. In real life, there are many cases of evil spirits possessing human beings and causing harm to them, all kinds of mental illnesses, stubborn and terminal illnesses, epidemics, and so on. Only human beings dominate the earth, and such cases are still relatively few. Another example is the tyrannical rulers in the history of mankind, who, in addition to their own evil desires, were dominated by evil spirits that caused widespread calamities to mankind. The only way out is to enhance the energy and wisdom of the soul, vital energy, and transfer it to a space and time outside the earth that is suitable for survival. In this way, human beings are bound to perish. There is no absolute eternity. The only important significance of human existence is based on the world's needs to realize the sublimation of the soul, the relative realization of physical and mental freedom. 17. In essence, the human calamity is only attributed to the calamity of the heart, soul, and the energy is dissipated, not knowing and not being able to return, and falling into the sea of suffering attacked by evil, which cannot be dispensed with without the rescue of God and self-cultivation on behalf of the heavenly emperor. Therefore, the value and significance of mankind's devout belief in heavenly emperor and the divine realm lies in mankind's spiritual return tranquility as a way to obtain the common origin of the creation of human beings and the gods Yuanqi, mixed true air, in order to cultivate the life of mankind. Air, to cultivate the energy and wisdom necessary for life. Next, human beings continue to maintain the relative and permanent tranquility of the mind with the Yuan Qi characterized by the balance of yin and yang, in order to enhance their moral qualities. As the saying goes, man is not far from the way, and the way is not far from man. In order to realize I live and all beings live, I am free and all beings are free, and to realize the benign cycle of human existence, harmonious order. In this way, it embodies the unity of religious, faith and Yuan Qi, cultivation, which is specifically manifested in the teachings of the heavenly emperor, the inspiration of wisdom, the tranquility of nature, the moderation of desires, the dissolution of hatred, forgiveness and fraternity. 18. On the positive and evil, the cycle of heaven. There is no absolute existence in the universe. Positive and evil is only a conceptual division and relative existence. Positive in the evil, evil in the positive, positive and evil. Symbol of life or things' growth, fertilization and decay, extinction of the natural law of the internal factors and the appearance of the existence, and mutual transformation. The existence of life or the operation of things play an important role in the interdependence. Modern science has proved that there are positive and negative substances exist at the same time. For the living body, positive and evil have internal and external differences. And due to the existence of life, there must be born with the demise of the inherent laws of nature. The evil is usually different degrees of victory over the positive, to the dominant evil, the so-called 9 out of 10 evil. This is any life, including man. God cannot be completely reversed. Only play people, God as the subjective initiative, cultivation and supplement the innate energy. It is possible to relatively change the situation people. God's energy is sufficient on behalf of its Taoism, or power is profound. That is to say, the energy and spirituality of Yuan Qi, which creates everything and inherently balances yin and yang, is relatively larger than the energy and spirituality of the sum of evil, qi, and external evil, qi, in the human body, so that the positive qi temporarily outperforms the evil, i.e., the positive qi rises and the evil declines, so that the living organisms can be free in body and mind. In this way, even God, not to mention human, only cultivate Yuan Qi beyond the positive evil in order to realize the freedom of body and mind in a relatively long-lasting and get rid of or slow down the positive God into the evil cycle of life and death. Religion plays an important and positive role in human survival. However, it is undeniable that, due to the shortcomings of human nature, there is always the inevitable existence of superstition in the process of religious belief, faith without truth, faith without pragmatism, faith without comprehensiveness, superstition and religious alienation and degeneration. Superstition, and the problem of religious alienation and degeneration. In other words, superstition and alienation are not the essence of religion, but are unavoidable derivatives of the process of the creation, propagation, and belief of religion. There is bound to be superstition in the case of orthodoxy, and there is bound to be alienation in the case of orthodoxy, and there are bound to be certain imperfections in religion, as well as many instances of discredit, or a detachment of religion from the essence of the meaning and substance of the word, indoctrination. Or make religions detached from the substance of the connotation of indoctrination, and exist only in the external form of churches, resulting in pseudo-religions or imperfect religions, or seriously developed to the opposite side of religions, resulting in the so-called evil cults. Or, in a serious development to the opposite of religion, so-called cults are created, which are characterized by spiritual opium, deception and pseudoscience, and which greatly harm the feelings and needs of human beliefs. In this way, any religion in the world has two major factions or attributes of the religion itself, orthodox and cult, and the so-called hierophantism and interceptionism in the Chinese mythological work Feng Shenyanyi. The so-called hierophantism and interceptionism in the Chinese mythological work feudalism are not the titles of a certain religion, but the relative concepts of the two major attributes of religion itself, righteousness and wickedness, and the core issue lies in whether or not to follow the truth of the Great Tao. Religions represent different regional civilizations and relative truths. The main reason for the conflict between the world's religions lies in the fragmented understanding of the supremacy of faith, the universe, and the authoritarian dictatorship. Only my faith is the true God, only my faith is the highest. At the same time, it is the situation of the anti-client in the process of exchange and dissemination that intensifies and provokes religious conflicts. No single religion in the world, representing only regional civilizations and relative truths, can solve the world's problems on its own. Harmonious coexistence of world religions lies in the compliance with moral civilization, cultivating the root and consolidating the essence, supporting the right and dispelling the wrong, independence and autonomy, peaceful coexistence, taking the self as the root, using the outside as the use, combining the root and use, and harmonious coexistence, reflecting that human beings are born of the same great way, and the necessity of the harmonious coexistence of world religions. The necessity of the harmonious coexistence of world religions. The world's religious sects need to communicate and cooperate, and when conditions are ripe, they should convene a world conference of religions on the theme, promoting the spirit of the Great Way, building up positive religious beliefs, and seeking the well-being of humankind, so as to assume the leading responsibility for the harmonious coexistence of the world's religions. 23. Religious believers are always humble believers and practitioners of the Tao, with the unity of faith and practice, the communication between man and God, the integration of Tao and air, the pursuit of freedom without being free all the time, and the elimination of ignorance without being ignorant all the time. After dividing the power in this way, there is a basis for judgment when you get a Batsi.